Please join us in saying,
Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift.
Hi, my name is Chris Holton Jablonski, and it is my great joy and privilege to serve you as your minister. Welcome to worship with First Church. I'm so glad that you're here. We have a wonderful service today, complete with a big new story from Nate, which is fun, and a wonderful poem from Lillian, our adult programs person, and even best yet, that you're here, that we're connecting in this strange time, in these strange circumstances. If you're watching this on Sunday morning, you still have a chance to come to our town hall later today at 2 o'clock. The Zoom information was sent out in lots of Unitarians. It would be great to have you there. It's hosted by our Board of Trustees, and it's an opportunity to hear from our COVID task force, hear about some building projects, hear about the financial health of the church. We'll be doing these intermittently throughout this time just to keep the communication lines open. But if you have any questions or if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm very much here. Sam James, our wonderful president, is very much here, and we're here for you. So for now, come, let us worship together.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
All That You Need Lies Within You by Angela Herrera. Consider this an invitation to you. Yes, you with all your happiness and your burdens, your hopes and regrets. An invitation if you feel good today, and an invitation if you do not. If you are aching, and there are so many ways to ache. Maybe your heart is heavy or hardened. Maybe it's troubled, and peace can take up residence only in a small corner, only on the edge, with all that is going on in the world and in your life. Nimoto, it doesn't matter. All that you need for a deep and comforting peace to grow lies within you. Once it is in your heart, let it spread into your life. Let it pour from your life into the world. And once it is in the world, Let it shine upon all beings.
Once upon a time there lived a king who owned too many things. He had balls that bounced and toys that walked, rings of gold and a bird that talked, fancy shoes with leather soles, a crocodile and fishing poles, 11 cows that made good milk, an electric guitar and a robe of silk, a family of rabbits that liked to hop, a dragon egg and soda pop, a train that whistled and horns that could toot, a hippopotamus and a silver flute, a trampoline and a red canoe, but trust me, friends, I just named a few. But there was one thing he did not possess, the love for another locked deep inside his chest. So one morning when the king crawled out of bed, he decided to take a walk and help clear his head. And alone he strolled at his own pace until he saw a maiden with the most beautiful face. Amazed and stunned, without a word to say, the king ducked down behind a bale of hay. He saw where she lived. It was a simple house that she shared with a dog, a cat, and a mouse. Her closet seemed empty, not one robe on a hook, but she had a few things, a dress, a fireplace, and a library book. The king was surprised with the little he had seen, but was determined to make the young maiden his queen. He went back to his kingdom and found a perfect gift to give the young maiden, but boy, was it hard to lift. He set it outside her old wooden door, and the two of them had no idea what this maiden was in for.
This is Guest House by Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a gift from the beyond. What matters is that we open, that we arrive in the fullness of this moment and this life. And that is hard these days. With this impossible parade of loss and challenge, with the relentlessness of the news, with so much pain all around us. But this is what is. And what is all we have to work with. And often, even though it is hard, often in the midst of times like these, we can get clear on what is most important. I think of the haiku of the 17th century samurai poet Mizuda Masahide. This poem he wrote supposedly as he watched his barn burn to the ground. Barns burnt down. Now I can see the moon. Now, of course, it's also nice to have your barn intact. But the barn is burning. The world is on fire. The West Coast actually burning. So many fires raging, so much loss, so much uncertainty. And our country is burning. The seething divisions, the entrenched racism, the vast cultural divides, this election, so many of us staring in bewilderment as people lift up our leaders, waving the banners of racism and hatred, marching lockstep with blinders on, it seems. So much is burning, and it is hard to watch. It is hard to stay open and pay attention, to find ways of meaningful change making in the midst of it all. It is hard to kindle and tend and guard the tender fires of hope in the onslaught of these days. And that is why I love the first poem when she says, maybe your heart is heavy or hardened. Maybe it's troubled and peace can take up residence only in a small corner, only on the edge. With all that is going on in the world and in your life, it doesn't matter. All that you need for a deep and comforting peace to grow lies within you. We don't need to be healthy and whole. We don't need to be refreshed and rested. We don't need to be all better, even weary and broken down. Even at the brink of our coping and past it, wherever you are, however you are, all you need is a corner. And peace can take hold, a tiny corner of your heart. Just one little fertile corner of your heart, that's all you need. And peace can take root and start to grow. For me, I have found it in moments. My littlest child, my only daughter, in the midst of all this, still putting on her flowery dress and pink cowgirl boots and matching pink mask to go start kindergarten. Our very own Ian and Claire, his beloved, getting married in their backyard, a beautiful ceremony, promising themselves to one another, life moving on, love taking root despite the odds. This is the moon I see as this barn is burning. We have this opportunity to welcome this impossible moment, to learn what it has to teach, and to refuse to forget. Once we go back to some semblance of normal, to refuse to forget what it means to be able to shake a hand, to hug one another on Sunday morning, to welcome in the newcomer, to see again an old friend. This is the moon rising above the burning barn, that we may see more clearly who and how we want to be. And the hard news and the grueling and difficult news is that, of course, it is not over. We are still in it. We are still making our way through. And so we still have this opportunity to think and feel and reflect on what is most important. What is it in this time that is saving you? What is getting you through? For my part, I am grateful all over again for my children and wife. I am so grateful for the constant buzz of our house, much as it's overwhelming at times. There is the constant strum of their becoming, so many projects and tasks, so much creativity and growth all around, all the time. I am so grateful for Lego buildings and craft projects, for collages and telescopes made of cardboard and construction paper. I'm grateful for my bigger children asking still, only once in a while, but still, for me to lay down next to them as they fall asleep. A rare treat, a sweet moment. And I am also grateful for all of you, for your leadership and your love, for the incredible programs you are coming up with, for this full and fascinating fall we have on the way. I am so grateful for your creativity and your hard work, for all of you serving on the board and program council and so many committees, singing in the choir, for those of you who are brand new and finding your way into the community, for those of you who have been here for decades, we all together, all of us pouring ourselves into this place, we are creating something beautiful and powerful and true. This is from St. Francis and the Sow by Galway Kinnell. The bud stands for all things, even for those things that don't flower, for everything flowers from within of self-blessing, though it is sometimes necessary to reteach a thing its loveliness, to put a hand on its brow and retell it in words and in touch, it is lovely, until it flowers again from within of self-blessing. This is our precious work, reteaching one another our loveliness, reteaching this country its loveliness, taking in the full truth of this moment, taking in the stretch and the strain and the stress, all of it, and even and especially there in the midst of this all, somehow to flower. In the midst of this all, somehow to flower. The barn is burning. A crowd of sorrows sweeping out our house. May we see the moon. May we be emptied and ready. So much love to you all. Amen.
senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in awe. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving, as love shows us how. Wake now, my reason, reach out to the new. Join with these pilgrim who quest for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime.
The next morning, when the young maiden awoke, she found a broken egg, but there was no yolk. But a fire-breathing dragon that had torched down her tree stared her down and exclaimed, "Mommy!" The king felt so bad. So the next morning, when the young maiden awoke, she found a fishing pole and a shiny cloak. There was but one problem she had with the pole. She did not live by a river or even a water hole. The cloak was pretty, but it was more than it appeared. When she put it on, poof, the poor maiden disappeared. The king felt so embarrassed. So the next morning, when the young maiden awoke, she went to go outside, but her head was suddenly poked. She looked up to see what caused the dull pain. She saw a bird perched above that then casually explained, "I'm sorry, my dear, that I poked your head, but I was trying to get your attention. Can I sleep in your shed? 'Cause it seems your house is getting quite full. I don't want to intrude. My master taught me to be polite, so the last thing I want to be is rude." The maiden asked, "Who is your master?" as the bird sat above. The bird replied, "My master's a lonely man out to win your love." The next morning, when the king arrived at the maiden's door, he saw a handwritten letter he had not seen before. And it read, "Dear secret admirer, thank you for the gifts you've delivered. They do have their appeal. But could you just maybe write a letter instead and maybe tell me how you feel?" The king was so surprised and moved by the words that he just read that he hurried home to write down what he felt needed to be said. "Roses are red and violets are blue. I own so many things, but all I want is to know you. So if you agree to be my bride, I will spread my wealth across the countryside, 'cause all I can picture is you and me with no things in the way, sharing a love that we've developed until our dying day." Then the king folded his letter and returned it to the little house, where he was greeted by the whole household, including the dog, the cat, and the mouse. And he read the letter as a proposal, and he dropped to one knee, and the young maiden said, no. How about a coffee?" The end.
Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the white sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now, my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now, my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance.
thanks for all the things we do not possess, for love of queens locked deep inside our chest. We give thanks for dragons and fishing poles and disappearing cloaks, and the final best gift of opening and sharing. We give thanks for all the guests, all the new arrivals, for being swept clean, swept out, swept empty. We give thanks for the moon rising, for all we can see anew, for the small corners, for peace taking hold, for all that we need lying within us. We give thanks for remembering loveliness and flowering from within. So much love to you all. Amen.